The Mashup is brought to you by North Star Sports with locations in Poughkeepsie and Wappingers Falls. And Gold's Gym of the Hudson Valley with locations in Fishkill, LaGrange, and Newburgh. Coming up on this edition of The Mashup, Lords and Poughkeepsie work overtime to establish a winner. Marlboro and Highland almost needed overtime. And the Marist women wish they had more time. We've got the shots, the plots, and the forget-me-nots. Ouch! The Mashup is next. Hi everyone, I'm Charlie Carnaccio. It was an abbreviated schedule this week because of another snowstorm, and they say we might have another one on the way, which could wreak havoc on the sectional schedules for Section 1. Section 9's postseason begins next week, but the Mahal tournament is all set to go, and here's a look at the semis and the finals. Saugerties and Red Hook will play on Monday the 17th, followed by Coleman and Ellenville. The winners will play in the Mahal Championship on Thursday at 7:15. On the girls' side, unbeaten Wallkill will take on Red Hook Tuesday at 5 p.m., followed by Onteora and Coleman at 7. The championship for that bracket will take place on Thursday at 5 p.m. Good efforts this past week. It seemed everywhere we went, teams were working overtime, starting with Poughkeepsie and Our Lady of Lords. And who knew they'd be doing this again after 32 minutes of play? Lords started the game off establishing two things. This was their gym, and Steve Latino was about to have a night. In fact, the Warriors in general were going to have a night. Lords put Poughkeepsie in a 10-1 hole in the first 7 minutes of play and led 20-16 after one thanks to that Latino boy. He's not actually Hispanic, that's his last name! Lords was making it rain. Justin Reinders dials long distance. But then Poughkeepsie shifted into another gear. Otis Elvey with the layup. Kaval Haylett loses the mail, goes back and gets it, and puts it in for two more. Sanjay Ruparelia with the hook shot over Luke Tim. And Taquan Johnson buries the outside shot. Lords led by 5 at halftime, 34-29. We go to the fourth quarter, and a few defensive lapses lets Poughkeepsie right back in. Otis Elvey has the open door to the hoop, and we've got a tight one. Lords up by 1. And suddenly, the rim becomes unfriendly for that Latino boy. And Poughkeepsie is maximizing the rules with the hoop and the foul. And look at this. We're tied at 53. Elvey, wide open, could win it here. No! We're going to overtime. Lords and Poughkeepsie traded blows at the start of OT. But the Warriors somehow found another gear and take this one back. Too many holes for the Pioneers to have to climb out of. Lords wins it in overtime, 69-66 the final.
We've had that tough time in the beginning of games, and it actually showed up at the beginning of the second half where we kind of got to get refocused and we dig ourselves a hole, and we did that in the beginning of the game. At halftime they came out an 8-0 run, I think, to start the second half, and we dug ourselves a hole. We were down 10, but we chipped away, and we just did not execute like a mature team should.
Poughkeepsie's pretty explosive. They're able to put points up on the board, and one of the key things that we were trying to tell our kids before the game and at halftime was that you can't get into a running game with these guys because they're going to beat us up and down the court in transition, and that's in fact exactly what they did. They were able to get transition points because we weren't getting back on defense because they were just faster, right? So we had to control the tempo of the game, and when we control the tempo of the game, that's when we went on our run.
The big rivalry game between Marlboro and Highland lived up to the hype. For a while, it looked like Marlboro was going to run away with this one, but Highland found a way to get back in it, which made for a thrilling last 5 minutes of the game. An 8-year-old Andrew Lovren, adopted by the Huskies, has become a bigger part of this team as anyone. But what Andrew saw was the visiting Iron Dukes controlling the boards with the inside presence of 6'3" junior forward Tyler Banks. Banks scored 6 points in the first quarter. But the Garcia boys were going to give Marlboro a run for their money. And Corey Garcia runs the floor for 2 of his 7 points. Banks was getting plenty of second chances and took control of the inside, while J.P. Laughlin doesn't wear number 3 for nothing. He hits it from the corner. Travis Marnell tries to keep the Huskies close, but Marlboro led at halftime 27-22. In the third, Banks picks up his 4th foul and had to sit out most of the second half. But Marlboro was still doing all right. Ryan Carey takes the steal the other way. No-look pass to Alan Dumas. Friendly roll. Marlboro built up a 13-point lead in the fourth quarter. But Coach Milliman calls a timeout to tell his team, and that might have been all the Huskies needed to hear, because in the final 5 minutes, Highland tore it up. Bo Garcia to Marnell. Corey Garcia from the outside. And the offense looked completely different than the previous 3 quarters. But the defense stepped it up as well. Nick Palmatier with the block. And Murphy pops another 2. Bo Garcia from the top of the key. Another 3. The nation is loving it. And with less than a minute to play, Highland gets it to within 3. And check out the crisp passing sequence. It ends up in the hands of Murphy, and it's a 1-point game with 19 seconds left. Highland was forced to foul. Zach Sakadillis misses his free throw. Highland hightails it down the other end. But a travel call and time running out leaves Marlboro to hang on with a 47-46 win over their crosstown rivals. Up at the college level, the Marist men continue to push towards 500 with a win over Niagara, and that put the Red Foxes at 6-7 in the MAC. But then faced Quinnipiac on the road and came up just shy. Siobhan Lewis had a double-double with 21 points and 10 rebounds. Khalid Hart also scored 21. Marist is now 6-8 in the MAC, and the Bobcats are 10-4. Meanwhile, the Marist women were packing the house with 3,200 fans piling into the McCann Arena to watch the Red Foxes annihilate Fairfield. At least that's what I thought. Marist held the Stags to just 36 points in their last meeting, and the Red Foxes were on a roll defensively, holding their last 2 opponents to no more than 40 points. So on paper, I thought this was going to be a blowout. But the game isn't played on paper. The last time Marist lost 2 games in the regular season was back in the 2009-2010 season. And after beating Fairfield by 24 in their first meeting this year, it seemed to be a no-brainer that Marist was going to run away with this one, especially with the hometown energy of Pack the House Night. 3,200 on hand to see Leanne Ockenden get recognized for scoring the 1,000th point of her career in a road win over Monmouth. But there was another 1,000-point scorer lurking in the building. Katie Szynski came in needing 16 points to reach 1,000 in her career. She would get it, and then some. Fairfield did their homework and came prepared, and the Stags kept this one close. Marist held a slim 29-27 lead at halftime. Tori Giroux was a spark off the bench, a spark that Marist needed. Giroux finished with 11 points and 4 rebounds. The Red Foxes had a 55-52 lead with just under 5 minutes to play, and then everything started to unravel. Felicia DeCruz hit a jumper, then came back down the court and buries this 3 to give Fairfield a 2-point lead, 57-55. When Marist tied it up at 57, Alex Vasquez hits back-to-back 3-pointers to give the visitors a 63-57 lead. Everyone thought Marist was back in it when Emma O'Connor hit this huge 3-pointer to make it a 3-point game at 63-60 with just over a minute to play. But Vasquez came right back up the floor and canceled out that 3 with one of her own. Vasquez hit 4 3-pointers and finished with 16 points. Fairfield led 66-60 and never looked back. Marist drops its second game of the regular season, a 72-68 loss to a well-prepared and well-coached Fairfield Stags team.
When O'Connor made that big three late, and I knew the game wasn't over at that point. I'm just really, really proud of our kids.
So just what happened in that Marist game? How did the Red Foxes let that one slip away? For a closer look, we take it inside the game. The Red Foxes suffered their second loss at home. That hasn't happened since the 2008-2009 season. Marist lost to Canisius and Fairfield at home. And don't think it was coincidence, because it appeared that Fairfield duplicated the game plan set by Iona 3 weeks earlier. In the Iona game, Marist saw a 10-point lead dwindle in the last 5 minutes of the game. And it came by way of several uncontested three-point shots. Alea Robinson hit back-to-back three-pointers, and suddenly an ironclad defense became a porous defense. And Martinez took that as an invitation to bang some nails in the coffin. The scenario led to a 73-71 loss. After Marist beat Fairfield by 24 points, Joe Frager said that was enough motivation.
We didn't think we played very well at Alumni Hall the last time we played them, and we wanted to make a better effort tonight.
But don't think that the Stags head coach didn't get a hold of that Iona game tape and figure out what the Gales did to dismantle an otherwise steel-trap defense. Because this matchup played out almost identical. Uncontested three after uncontested three allowed Fairfield to take control of this game when they needed it most, in the final 5 minutes. And then you begin to see a pattern, coupled with the fact that Marist couldn't make shots when they needed to, and suddenly you have a valuable blueprint for success against a team that has been just about unbeatable in MAC play over the past 10 years. Marist drops to second place in the MAC behind Iona, and everyone is anticipating their next meeting, March 2nd, the final game of the regular season at Iona. Big doings this week in sectional play. A ton of area wrestlers will represent our local schools. And the basketball postseason begins at the end of this week, and we'll be there for all the action. You can see all the results right here at HudsonValleySportsReport.com. So that will do it for the mashup. I'm Charlie Carnaccio. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you out on the sidelines.